And welcome in to DNVR Bets Daily. I am your host, Andre Simone. As usual, our friend RK out today, moving the true, the biggest loser of all. The RK had a nice day yesterday with his 2 locks, 2-0. Those locks are actually like locks now that we bet on Colorado sports, and it's the first day we have Rockies, Avs, Nuggets, all at the same time, basically back to back to back. So we've got my main man, Patrick Lyons, here with us, and we're going to have a slew of other experts to talk about their respective sports and our local teams, where we, frankly, Patrick, have been crushing it lately. I hope you didn't miss out on too many winnings while you were in New Jersey and couldn't do that legal betting with us. But, I think if we can get those Colorado records up, RK is 12-4 on Colorado teams. We've only had local teams back like 2 weeks now. And I'm 10-5, still hitting it hard with the units and just doing well record-wise in general, too. So it's it's a good time to be a Colorado fan. It's a good time to be a Colorado citizen and be in this sport and be able to do all this legal betting. So, my friend, how are you, Patrick? How are you doing? How about them Rockies, huh?
Doing well, yeah. 8-2, atop the National League, atop the NL West. Nolan's being Nolan.
Sure
Rockies
is.
are not really being the Rockies. The Rockies are being something otherworldly and are winning at a rate that's relatively unprecedented. And you know what? They've always been a team that start off fast and then have that June swoon. Well, you know what? The season is only 2 months, so let's forget about those waning months and let's get right to the playoffs. So they still got a long ways to go, but you're right, man. They're winning. You guys on DNVR bets are winning. You're plugged in, and when you know Colorado sports, you know how to win some money for sure right now.
Yeah, I guess so. And what's crazy about the Rockies, as you're saying, doing it, I mean, this is not your father's Rockies. This is not your baby's Rockies. This is no Rockies like anything we've seen before. This is more like a circa 1990s Atlanta Braves with the way that this pitching staff is looking. And what's got me so excited is you still have Gray, you still have Freeland. Then we go to Seattle against the Mariners, very beatable 3 games there. And then we come back home against the lowly D-Bags and the Texas Rangers. So here until like August 16th, the Rockies are going to be favored in just about everything, man. So it's going to be really exciting. And then after that, Stros and Dodgers is going to be a real test. But this is far from a mirage with these Rockies at a plus 23 run differential at the top of the NL West. So the few games they've lost by slim margins, the games they're winning by large margins. So I guess
the biggest thing is if they do this long enough, like they get through, like you said, Seattle, Arizona, Texas series, at that point you just start to believe it. You go, hey, this is who we are. And they believe it now too. And they believed it for most of 2019, even if their record didn't exactly show it. But I think you get to a certain stage where you go, yeah, no, we're just going to win 3 out of every 4 games. We're going to have a 750 winning percentage for the rest of the season. And it really starts to become true even against the likes of the Astros and Dodgers.
Unreal. But we said, I mean, this is what the conversations we were having with you and Drew, looking at the season and the start and how it could really set up to a hot start and what this would mean for the momentum of this team. Now, if there's one concern I have, Patrick, it's how this bullpen has looked, right? And allowing a few too many runs in the later innings, which is why my lock for this game against the Giants with John Gray on the mound is going to be for this game to go under 6.5 runs in the first 5 innings. This is one that's hit the last 2 games for me because, of course, we've been able to rely on some good performances from the starting pitchers, though 2 games, of course, Chi kind of imploded and Hoffman had to come in and help. But those have been safer bets for me than the general over where I get to the 8th and 9th and I have to start sweating it out.
Yeah, the bullpen has, outside of Wade Davis and James Pazos, you kind of subtract their numbers. The bullpen has been unbelievable. And
that's true.
Even without the nearly $40 million they spent on 3 separate relievers. All those guys are gone. We'll see Brian Shaw in Seattle soon enough if he doesn't get designated for assignment at that point. But yeah, that's a good call for tonight. Logan Webb will be making his first start for the Giants at Coors
Yes.
Field. Now,
Yes.
last year, looked all right in 8 starts, but he's got very good numbers coming up through the minor leagues the last 3 years. He started off really well so far. So I think, Gabe Kapler, manager of San Francisco, is really just looking for his young starter to get through the lineup 2 times. And as long as he can do that, he's going to keep those runs down. And maybe he even goes a 3rd time before you get into the Giants bullpen, which is suspect, and the Rockies bullpen, which you're believing what you're seeing so far, but it wouldn't shock you if they had one of those games where no one really seems to be able to get in out. So I do like that pick for taking the under in the early going with John Gray and Logan Webb dealing.
I like what you just said. You just reassured me a lot about Logan Webb. And I guess you're right. Outside of Wade Davis and Pazos, sometimes Daniel Bart, he's so electric, but he doesn't always hit his spots. So that can be, it's a scary roller coaster ride, even though, he's basically been untouchable thus far. And, Estevez had I guess he allowed 1 run two outings ago, but that's okay. He limited damage, and Hyro's been pretty lights out so far. So you make some good points. You forced me to take off my Rockies fan glasses and put things in perspective. They can't always be perfect. You're right. And I would suggest this. If things go as we're saying with John Gray, who I think we agree has looked nice and we have confidence will continue, hit another steady start to come from him, especially from, this Giants lineup that doesn't scare you too much. But this is a nice opportunity. You can wait to live bet the over for the full 9. If it is low scoring in the first couple innings, that over will go down from the 11.5 it's at now. And then you can kind of feast on these 2 bullpens, which, as you said, the Rockies, not too shaky, the Giants more shaky than you think. What other lines have you intrigued here? I know we were talking about some Nolan stuff. You're going the other way, though.
Yeah, Nolan has homers in the last 2 straight games, and so you say, wow, he's breaking out of that slump. He's going to do it again. I don't necessarily know if that's the case or not, but what I do know is he and Trevor Story are incredibly competitive. They play off one another. They are very much like stepbrothers, where they've got that energy where it's a rivalry, but it plays in their advantage in so many ways. So Story hitting a home run tonight is plus 335. I think that's as good of a lock as there's going to be. Stories, he's been very patient at the plate, drawing his walks, but I think, again, you go out and you see Arenado hitting those 2 home runs in 2 straight games, and you go, all right, now it's my turn. So maybe I'm not going to be as patient at the plate, especially if the Rockies can get up to an early lead. He's going to be able to have fun in those at bats. So that's got to be a lock at plus 335. And to take it even beyond that point, if you want to go with a Story home run and a Rockies win, that's plus 500. So you might as well double down on that. I like those 2 bets as locks for tonight.
I love this, and I love the little inner rivalry between him and Nolan, sparking this all and motivating Trev to be a little more aggressive, where he's been really nice in his more patient approach. So maybe you'd say stay away from Trevor over 1.5 hits, because he might be forcing it a bit too.
Yeah, very, very well could be, right? He's been drawing a lot of walks, so he's not getting those at bats, right? It's a plate appearance, but it's not an at bat if you draw a walk. So once he gets that first home run out of the way, then yeah, he's more likely to get the over. But I would probably stay away from that, as well as John Gray with at the over under at 4.5 strikeouts.
Yes.
So the Giants lineup, they only strike out about a 22% clip.
Yep.
Which is in the top 10 of baseball. So
Yep.
It's got a lot of names you might not be familiar with, and the ones you do know, you've got to be thinking, how older is Brendan Belt and Crawford and Pablo Sandoval? He's still a thing. I saw those pictures in the summer. That can't be a thing. No, he still is. He's hitting the ball hard. But they put the ball in play. In his last 2 starts, only had 3 and 2 strikeouts respectively.
Yep.
So that could be hard to come by. If he can go deep into the game, I think he'll have all the opportunities to get that over, but we've yet to see that from John Gray. So I would probably stay away from that over-under on strikeouts for him today.
Is it just a slightly different approach from John this year where he's not missing as many bats and he's just trying to force, the contact in the lower half of the strike zone, and that's how he's forcing more outs? Or is this an opportunity where it was more of a fluke in the last outing that he didn't hit that over on strikeouts? Here it's just a Giants lineup that tries to kill you by a million paper cuts. And maybe next Gray outing, that line will be lower because he hasn't hit the over, and that's where we can strike.
Yeah, I think by the end of the season, or even in a couple weeks' time, as you said, we're going to start to see him logging those strikeouts. But I think right here in the early going, it very much is that approach of just getting that weak contact, keeping the fly balls down, which is super important. Played two very heavy contact teams already, in his previous two starts. So, and when you're not able to get out of the fifth inning, that's obviously going to, tamp down your ability to get strikeouts. So his pitch counts haven't been that high. It's just that he's been in jams, so to speak. And, Buddy Black has had to ultimately manage this team differently than in years past, where you say, this is a marathon. I got to keep these guys sharp for 5 months down the line. So let me give them a shot to work out of this jam. Now you can't afford that. Now you're managing every game like it's one of one in a lot of ways, in a lot of different scenarios. So that's been the case in Gray's two starts. It wouldn't shock me if John was back to being the Wolf of Blake Street and went and carved up for 6 strikeouts. But until we see that for sure, I would stay away from the 4.5.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you, Patrick. Anything else you've kind of been surprised by, or any trend that you've really said, I told you so, or liked thus far in the early going of this somewhat of a wacky MLB season? I've found some good value in some dogs lately. I know the Cubbies have been a real surprise at 9-2. The Twins is one that you called all along. The Braves have been really good, but just lost their opening day starter. Just a ton of early storylines in this MLB season. Anything that stood out to you? Anything that might give us an edge in betting the other teams around the league?
Well, Boston is one of those teams that I don't believe in them. They're just not very good, unfortunately. They did lose some pitching in the offseason. Lost another guy in Eduardo Rodriguez, who should be a Colorado Rockies starter, but that's a topic for another day. So they're one of those teams where you go, they're going to snap out of it eventually. No, that's not necessarily the case, especially when you look at their win-loss record in any year where they did win the World Series. Man, they took some serious nosedives, and I think this is just going to be one of those years where they're going to need a little course correction. So I do believe that they are more of a pretender than anything this year. And as far as I told you so's, Trevor Story in leading the game in runs. We're seeing him at the top of the leaderboard. He's getting on base. He's drawing those walks. Blackman, Arenado, Kemp, all driving him in. And Charlie Blackman, last 3 years, he has the most hits in all of baseball. He had 2 more again last night. He's just under 500. I think he's 16 for 33. So look for him to continue that. Yeah. I think he'll even have 2 hits again tonight. I would take the over. That's a plus 141. So a lot of opportunities today to go hard on the Rockies.
Beautiful. Love it. Always a pleasure to have you on, brother. We got to do this again soon.
Absolutely. Keep raking in that dough, buddy.
Oh, yeah. You know it. Yeah. And thanks to Patrick for being on. And as you know, all the odds we're giving you are straight from our good friends at the DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm using that app on the daily, nothing but great stuff. We're going to talk about some amazing props coming up with our Nuggets guest that you can find specifically on the Sportsbook. It's like they've been listening to us, and all of a sudden we have some beautiful lines for Nuggets, Avs, and everything else. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code DNVR when you sign up. For a limited time, all new users can get a sign-up bonus up to $1,000. That's right. DraftKings Sportsbook has a sign-up bonus up to $1,000. Don't forget, enter code DNVR and get your sign-up bonus to $1,000. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. Bonus comprised of a first deposit bonus and a first bet match, each up to $500. Deposit bonus requires 25 times playthrough. Restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. Beautiful. Well, next up, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Brendan Vogt here with us. Brendan,
what's up, brother?
I better get going here because the Nuggets are about to play in 40 minutes here. It's time to place some wagers. I know I lit our Slack a bit on fire when I put it out there that the sportsbook now has lines on MPJ for this game today against the Spurs. And since pointing out that the over-under for MPJ points in this game was set at 15.5, and that was coming in at a -110, basically even odds for the over or the under. The over has now moved to -150. So already tremendous action, probably mostly from the DNVR staff. How you feeling about this, man?
Good, man. Also just announced that Jamal Murray is out again today. So if you're looking at that from a how do the Nuggets win standpoint, that's bad news. If you're looking at that from the smashing the over on those MPJ line standpoint, that's great news. I mean, he played 43 minutes, Andre, in game 2. If he plays 30-plus minutes, is he locked for 15? No, but it kind of seems like that's light work for him, bro. So given that Murray's out, they're going to need him not just to play, but to shoot if they're going to win. So it's on the table, man. I like that over on that line. And also, 2.5 3-pointers. It's a lot harder to predict, obviously. Very inconsistent. But my rule of thumb with MPJ is if he plays, he scores. I really think he's going to knock 3 threes down. So my girlfriend has money on that as well. I encouraged her in that direction.
Excellent. Oh, I love that. When we get significant others betting, that's the way to go. And combined rebounds, points, and assists, MPJ 24.5.
Oh, you got to like that, right? You got to. And especially because of the way games 1 and then games 2 went. Game 1, well and active on the boards, gets chewed out, admonished by Michael Malone, called out in the post game. How does he respond, Dre, in game 2? He's an elite rebounder from the 3. So I expect him to be active in the same regard. I think he hits that over as well. I'm feeling very optimistic, if you can't tell.
Yeah, that one to me seems maybe like the safer one now that the line on the points has gone up a little. You can get this at almost a better value. So, and that's all I need is like 18-7 to get that over. Sure. We know he's not going to get many assists, but
19-10, right? I think Adam Mars told me that's what he's expecting today. That seems like a really reasonable expectation for MPJ if he plays 30+.
Especially against these Spurs who are without LaMarcus Aldridge. So the board should be like free range. The other thing is, how crazy is this matchup, man? Like the over in general seems like you might want to smash that. It's really high at 227.5, but these feel like two teams who cannot guard the other strength like whatsoever.
It's a great point. Neither team can defend anyone. And going back to MPJ really quick, dude, not just the boards, but even if Aldridge was playing, he would be guarding maybe Yoke or Mason if he's in there. It's a lot of guards on San Antonio, and they're going to have to put a guard on MPJ. Well, let's see. Their biggest guard, DeMar DeRozan, horrible defender. So all signs are pointing to a big game for him. And I think you make a really good point there about neither of these teams being able to defend anyone right now.
Yeah, because, I mean, and that's the struggle with Murray, Harris, Barton being out 1 through 3. Now, Murray not so much, but now you're really struggling to defend on the wings. And guys like DeRozan, guys like Derek White with a little more size, which is going to be hard for Monty Morris to handle. I mean, these are guys who put up a $130 on the Sixers.
Good point, yeah. Quick guards. The Nuggets struggle with quick guards, man.
Yeah.
They don't contain it well at the point of attack, and then look, Jokic is, in my opinion, criminally underrated on the defensive end. Yeah. But if you're asking him to adjust to cover ground, he's not making up for that with athleticism. And so his job's made quite difficult when point of attack is weak, and that's the case against speedy guards, especially without their best defending guard, Gary Harris.
Yeah, for sure. And that probably means with this matchup, more minutes for Torrey Craig. I saw his over-under for points was set at 7.5. Of course, that can be a little fluky because Torrey could hit a couple threes and then that's an easy over.
Right.
or he might not touch the ball for a quarter and a half. So I don't know.
What I would say is it looks like he is shooting right now. Game 1, he took those threes that the defenses willingly conceded. He hit them.
Yeah.
Game 2, he kept taking them. He wasn't hitting them. But what does that tell you? You know, he's going to try. I think if he's open, he's going to shoot. And he seems to have made a decision in his mind that he has to at least be a threat to the defense. Hey, I'm going to shoot. At least consider guarding me. So if he's open, he's shooting. And I don't know if the shots fall, but if that influences your decision one way or another, I do think he'll fire away.
Yeah. Yeah, and how are you feeling about this? You think the Nuggets, who are strong favorites, but of course, every game's a journey with all these injuries. So how are you feeling about the final outcome with our money line bettors?
Well, you know, I think the Nuggets win this game, but I do know with regards to the actual line, I was just reading on the Action Network that the smart money or the pro money appears to be going to San Antonio. So most of the bets, the public are hitting Denver, but the actual money is going to San Antonio. And in some places, that line has moved to 3. But on DraftKings Sportsbook, last I checked, it was still 3.5. So there might be something there, Dre. But I think Denver is rolling, man. They played a really bad half against Miami in the second half, but the first half was actually great, all things considered. All the guys that were missing. And then, the wheels fall off, but then how do they respond the next game? Quite well. So I like Denver right now, and I do think San Antonio was due for a little, reality check, or eventually they're going to remember who they are. And that, look, man, they're not really competing for a title. And we even saw that all the way up until Game 7 in their playoff series last year. This was a team that could have won that series, and I'm telling you, listening to Pop speak every game, it's like, does this guy even want to win this series? They sound ready to pack up and go home. I think at some point in the bubble, that'll kick in for San Antonio again.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I mean, the betting public, rightfully so, looks at these injuries and says, okay, there's some concern. And rightfully so. But I think what happened against the Thunder, Monty kind of seen the light in the second half, and MPJ seen the light the whole 4 quarters. Unlocking those guys, and it's my theory that I've had not just for the Nuggets, but I've kind of had it for the Avs for 2 years now, where they're almost better when they do have some injuries. Because all of a sudden, everyone settles into, okay, this is my role. I'm not going to worry about, will I sit on the bench all game or will I start, which is what Torrey Craig does from time to time. Everyone has a delineated role. They're calmer, and they fit into that role, and they're still talented enough to beat teams like San Antonio or OKC.
Well, and over the last handful of years, every time Denver experiences a key injury, we've actually learned something new about someone else. You know, in years past, Bart and Gary Harris showed us they actually had more to their game than we thought. Well, there's been some regression. I think this time around, it's, well, I don't have any choice but to start MPJ if I'm alone. And not just that, we don't really have any choice but to let this kid shoot, because where are the points going to come from? And that's unlocked the best possible outcome for Denver's offense, which was at one point quite predictable, regardless of the aggregate talent. Now you've got this new wrinkle. And the truth about MPJ, if he's hot, if the shots are falling, teams don't really know what to do with this yet. They haven't game planned for this, and he's a matchup problem with his height. So, yeah, I don't know. I think in a weird way, Denver's unlocked something more important. But that's assuming everyone comes back healthy eventually.
Oh, man, I love this. Getting me excited for the Nuggets. I always fall in this trap. That's kind of part of that Nug life.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. Drew Kreisman texted me at halftime of that Miami game. He was like, hey, so remember when you told me to get back on the hype train? He's like, I'm never watching basketball again.
No, that's
man. I'm sorry.
That's how it's done. That's how it's done. Before I let you go, because of course you've got a game real soon. Man, I'm feeling like the East is going to be fun from a bettor's perspective for maybe the first time in a while, with the Pacers playing as well as they're playing, the 76ers being a disaster, right?
Yeah.
Raptors have been the Raptors. Celtics are kind of flaky right now. I just think there's going to be lots of opportunities there. So I want you to dial into that, because next time we talk, I'll be quizzing you about all that. And the Heat, man. I mean, Heat, Raptors, Bucks at the top. Pacers could do anything. Sixers could do anything. Celtics could do anything. All 3 rounds, we're going to have some entertaining series. Well, usually it was always chalk in these.
Yeah, man. Those games will be at least good. I don't know if we'll see necessarily upsets, but everyone in the East right now, I think, can play each other well. And Indiana, sneaky fun team to watch, bro. They've got some great ball movement, and TJ Warren's like Michael Jordan apparently right now. So
in the bubble, and they'll get Oladipo back. So man, sky's the limit. All
right, brother.
All right.
Well, looking forward to that next visit, man. Appreciate it.
You got it. Go Nugs. Thank you, Brendan Vogt. Follow him, DNVR Nuggets, DNBA show. They do a great job. And, man, just a slew of picks on Rockies and Nuggets so far. I don't know if we have our records yet to remind people on the Colorado picks so far and what we've done. I mean, we've only been at it, a week and a half since the Rockies have been back. Just a couple games for Nugs and Avs. 12-4 for RK. The rare time RK's placed more bets than me. And then 10-5 for your boy. Doing good. And those 10-5, there's lots of value, lots of pluses there, in part because it's a lot of Rockies money lines, which we weren't getting value. Herman Marquez, my lock, 3 starts in a row. That's always been plus money as well. So, and to close it out in this trifecta episode, I mean, it doesn't get much better than this to talk about Colorado Avalanche than to have my man AJ Haefele, who of course has the proper attire because the Nuggets play first here in just a few minutes, rocking his Nuggets hat like a good Colorado boy would. How are you, dude?
I'm good, man. It's been a weird day. It's been a weird day, and so I'm very prepared to shift into watching sports all day.
Well, I wake up this morning with a notification from our main Twitter account that you guys have posted an article talking about will the Avs overcome having been 0-4 against the Stars this season, only team they were unable to beat. And from a betting perspective, this is very interesting to us as the Avs are slight favorites going into this 2 seed versus the 4 seed playing for the 1 seed. Did I say that correctly, AJ?
Sure. Yeah. They're really like unseeded teams playing for whatever seed they could get at this point.
Fair point.
A lot of this is important tonight for both teams. If the Avs pull this off, if they manage to climb the Dallas Mountain, they guarantee themselves the top 2 seed with a win today. And that, given the chaos that we have seen so far out west in the bracket, in the qualifying round right now, that getting a top 2 seed could really pay off for them.
Silly me. I thought that maybe with the conditions we wouldn't have the usual upsets. No, it's been more unpredictable. It's just been
I've actually been really surprised at how the series have gone, because I figured in best of 5s with them playing as frequently as they are, because there are some teams who are on their 3rd game in 4 days already. What I figured is that we were going to be in line for a lot more sweeps.
Yep.
Like what we saw with Carolina over the Rangers, where the Rangers just never got traction in that series. Carolina came in, they were motivated, they just smoked those guys and moved on. And I thought we were going to see more of that, where one team just came in and they were already there mentally, and the other team just wasn't quite prepared. They didn't have their legs, whatever it is. Those long layoffs, they're totally unpredictable.
Right.
And so with their seasons being on the line immediately, I thought we were going to see more of that. There's been a little more back and forth than I expected. The goaltending has been exactly as we thought it would be, where somebody in one of these series is going to do something where you're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, some of these series, especially out west, that I thought would be sweeps, like the Canucks against the Wild, or Oilers Blackhawks has been wild. If something happened, Canucks just won, I'm just going the other way. And Rudo, I thought, put out the perfect meme, which to me translated in bet the over for all these Oilers Chicago games.
Yeah, and it's funny because that's the highest over under available right now.
Right.
They basically, all of the hockey games started out over unders at 5.5.
Yeah.
And then they had to move that. After 2 games, they were like, we got to everybody, they're making too much money smashing the over on this. So they had to move it up to 6. So It's been interesting to watch that change, and I got a good hearty chuckle out of that because I would still smash that over.
Right.
Both of those goaltenders are still bad.
Right. A half goal don't change anything.
Well, and both power plays are producing, and the referees are calling this like it's November in the regular season, where they're trying to set the tone. They're trying to prove a point, right? Like, so it's been a combination of unexpected things. I thought Chicago was going to get blown away in that series. When they didn't have Corey Crawford, and then Crow got healthy, and then Edmonton just forgot to play game one, and it's just that series has been weird.
Yeah, I sprinkled the Oilers in a sweep because that's how I was feeling too. And then game one, I mean, game one's kind of across the board, especially out west.
Yeah,
just upset city.
Yeah, especially the first day, where both 12 seeds won.
Yeah,
and you were just it was like both 12 seeds, both 11 seeds, and you're just sitting there like, what in the world is going on out here?
It's so
the only team that straight up took care of business. Carolina walked in and was like,
"Yep,
the Rangers. Tell me more jokes, please."
Yeah, that was nice. So okay, we're smashing the over still. Well, we'll get into those. Let's circle back to the Avs. My first, as I was trying to figure out a lock for this, and I invited you on. I wanted you on for this one. We had Rudo in the last one, and then I started to look at lines, and I found one that felt a little romantic for me to bring up with us on the show, and it's Cale Makar to score in this at plus 360 because, of course, the first pod we ever did together was the draft pod in that Cale Makar year. And the Stars drafting Heiskanen at 3 allowed Makar to drop to them at 4. And, the rest is history. Besides the romanticism of it all, is this possible or am I just throwing my money away?
It's actually funny because when I was going through these, there were two that jumped out at me and Makar at 360 to score, just to score.
Yeah, just to score.
If you really wanted to roll the dice and go with like the first goal or the last goal, you could be in some money there at plus 1900.
Yes.
if you wanted to basically play Abs Twitter psychic with your wallet,
exactly.
That's hey, Cale Makar, the good as bad as any. He's a guy that always gets better as he goes on. The other guy to score in this that I really liked was Val Nichushkin. He's on that second line, and he's going up against the old team. He's got that little extra jump, and he was real good in training camp. He's been good through the first two through the exhibition game and the first game against St. Louis. He's got a little pep in his step, and I think against Dallas, getting that goal would just be a little extra salt. And the at plus 420 to score it, it's not only a Colorado style bet, but it's good money.
Yeah, what's better than that? I think DraftKings is trying to tell our Colorado bettors something with that Val Nichushkin line. Yeah, I like that with a little revenge here.
Yeah.
And how do you see this play out, man? You think it's going to be a grinded out like with the Blues, or is this a high scoring? Can they get past the Stars? Like, what's going on here? What's the matchup that's prevented the Avs from beating these guys so far?
Really, it's just Dallas wants to gear it down. And it's funny because they don't want to play a super up-tempo style, but they're right in the middle of the league in terms of shot suppression. And given that they were second in goal suppression, you would think that they would have been a little higher with actually the shot suppression, but they were just okay at it. And the Avs are one of the more aggressive and active teams in the upper half of shot generation. It's really just goaltending. And I tell you, through these games so far, the Avs offense hasn't clicked. As we've seen, they grinded out 3 goals against Minnesota in the exhibition. Then they turned around and they scraped those 2 goals against the Blues. We have not seen, like, this is an electric offense. Yeah. And, certainly things are more locked down in a traditional postseason, but we've seen all the other series. Offense has not been a problem.
Right.
If you're betting overs every night, you're making money, and we haven't seen it with the Avs yet. We haven't seen their offense just take that big leap. Honestly, with Francouz in net, you never know which Frankie you're going to get. You're either going to get the dominant one that's making crazy acrobatic saves, or you're going to get the guy that's he'll get 70% of a shot and he'll slip through his blocker and it trickles in, and then his 5-hole is getting lit up, and next thing you know it's 4-0, and you're like, dude. So this is the I think that honestly this could be more high scoring than we were expecting, just because you don't think of Colorado Dallas as you think of it as 2-1, not 5-4. But we haven't seen the Avs offense click. We haven't seen Nathan McKinnon click yet. I think there's a decent chance that this one turns into more of a run and gun than we would expect.
That'd kind of be fun to watch. Especially
nice,
to
man.
see, these top two lines getting going would be really, really satisfying.
Yeah,
I mean,
it'd be great.
How much longer must I wait for a Mikko Rantanen and a Nathan McKinnon goal? It's been a minute, bro. So yeah. Okay, so we're smashing the over as far as the other games. Man, I kind of like Canucks minus 107 against the Wild. Penguins have to get it back, minus 175 against the Canadiens. And what about the Preds at minus 148? These are all money lines. Do you like that?
I mean, I picked Minnesota and Arizona in those respective series, but to be honest with you, Nashville has thoroughly outplayed Arizona throughout that. And that game, I think that game's going on right now.
Right.
And I believe it's tied 1-1 in the second period. So it's still anybody's game there.
Yep.
I'm good. I'm comfortable with Pittsburgh. They've been way outplaying Montreal. Even though Carey Price has turned back the clock to 2015, they're just not generating enough, and Matt Murray's been just fine. Like, if Matt Murray had been a total sieve, this Montreal would win this series.
Mm-hmm.
But Matt Murray's been fine. He really hasn't been as terrible as people in Pittsburgh were making him out to be.
Okay.
So I'm comfortable with all those. I gotta tell you, man, the Vancouver Minnesota thing, I really don't know. Those two games so far have been extremely different. Vancouver didn't show up at all. Minnesota didn't look good. They've just sort of traded being bad. And like those are two really not good hockey teams. In a normal playoff year, neither one of those teams would have made the playoffs, and had they made it, they would have gotten smoked by whoever they got.
Right.
So they're honestly they're playing for the privilege of getting drilled in the next round, and so trying to parse their mediocrity it's frustrating. I personally, because it's like trying to look through mud. I would avoid that series. I like it. It's no confidence in that at all.
Right. I mean, it's a competition of who wants to lose this less.
Yeah.
So
each team would benefit significantly more from losing and being in Monday's lottery for the first overall pick than for the privilege of getting bounced by whichever Western team takes them to Pound Town in that next week.
Takes them to Pound Town. That's now, I will change this podcast title to this when I put it on the feed. Well, beautiful, AJ. I think even if you do have anything more than that, I want you to not speak another word, because it would be wrong to not end it on take it to Pound Town. So thank you, my friend. Always a pleasure. And we got to do this again soon.
Yeah, man. Anytime. You just let me know.
You got it, brother. Thank you. Yeah. And that's going to do it for us, because we just gave you a full slate of picks, not just for our Colorado teams, but for the rest of the 3 leagues that are active right now, you don't get picks in this longer episode at the end of the episode. But I will remind you of our overall records since we've started tracking units, since American team sports are back. As per usual, I have gone all in and done almost twice as many picks as Ryan, but both sitting pretty. I just went up to a plus 17 today because one of those Europa League picks I gave you at plus 280 has already hit. The other one is going on right now, and my dog and Getafe was looking good on that too. So stay tuned. Go all in on the old trifecta. Maybe parlay some of these nice props and lines that we've given out. Best of luck to you all. I will be back tomorrow with RK in studio per usual. So back to normal, always at 1 o'clock. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and best of luck.